Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Thursday's Theology. My name is Jeff, and I am your host. And this week we are going to start off a new series that have kind of been forming for a while, and that is, as I've been going through seminary, I've had all these words and phrases and ologies that have come up that are really good to understand and know what they are, but I feel like really not a lot of people know or understand how or why they are important. So for this next few episodes, we're going to be taking various ologies of seminary and theology and just dissecting them, see what they are and why they're important. So this week we are going to be talking about theology, Christology, and pneumatology. Now, the reason why I'm tackling three in this first episode is because these three are very, very closely related to one another. Now, something that we've talked about before is that theology is simply the study of who God is. That's what I say every week in the tagline for this vlog. But I wanted to kind of dissect it a little bit more, and that is because I think our understanding of theology definitely informs our view of who God is. Now, I say that theology is simply the study of who God is, and yes, that's true, but it's also can be very, very complicated. In fact, as soon as you start understanding and diving into more of who God is and who God's character is, a lot more complicated things come up. Like, okay, well, why does God do this? Why does God act this way? Why does God proceed throughout history this way? So there's a lot of questions wrapped up in this idea of what theology is, but theology is the study of who God is. Now, why it's important is because we, whether we admit it or not, have a lot of assumptions about who God is and what God does. So if we have a terrible theology, if we have very, very fragile theology that isn't very well informed, then it's going to give us an inaccurate picture of who God is. So theology is important because our understanding of God and our study of God influences and informs what we know and think about God. So theology is important because we need to work towards having an accurate depiction, or as accurate as we can, depiction of who God is. Now, Christology is very closely related to theology. Christology is the study of who Christ is. So same thing, if we have an understanding of Christ that is ill-informed, that is not very nuanced or very well-studied, then we're going to misunderstand who Jesus is and what the purpose of Jesus' life, death, resurrection, and ascension was. So again, with theology and Christology, we need to have an understanding of these are things that we need to study in depth if we are going to have a more solid understanding of what they mean and how they influence our faith. So with theology, it's the study of who God is. Christology, it's the study of who God is. And finally, pneumatology. Pneumatology is the study of the Holy Spirit. Pneuma is the Greek word for spirit, and pneumatology is the idea and study of who the Holy Spirit is, what the Holy Spirit does, and how it influences our life. So again, same thing with theology and Christology. Our pneumatological, you like that? Pneumatological understanding of the Holy Spirit influences the way we see the work of the Holy Spirit and how the Holy Spirit indwells in us and what the Holy Spirit does, all of those things. So our theological, our Christological, and our pneumatological understanding of the Trinity influences us very heavily. Now, I know that not everybody is going to be going to seminary and studying these things and, studying systematic theology and all these different ideas that Christianity and Christian theology brings up. But I do want to say that every single Christian has to be able to study who God is, who Christ is, and who the Holy Spirit is. Because if you just accept it once at face value, then it's not going to be very solid. It's not going to have a very good foundation. And it's just like the study of anything. If you, say, wanted to study physics and you take an intro to physics class, and that's the only physics class you take, chances are you probably wouldn't profess yourself as an expert in physics because you've only taken kind of an introductory overview. Now, there's nothing wrong with the introductory overviews, but it should lead to something else. It should lead to deeper study and deeper understanding and deeper contact with the material. So I want to propose that it's the same exact thing with theology, Christology, and pneumatology, where it's good to know what those things are. It's good to have a basic overview of the structure and acting of the Trinity, but that should lead to deeper study. That should lead to more reading of the Bible, to more understanding of what the Trinity is and how it acts. So these things are important because they are gateways to understanding who God is on a deeper level. So again, I want to encourage you guys that it's good to have these brief overviews of theology, Christology, and pneumatology, but it should lead to deeper study and wanting more understanding of those things. So yeah, like I said, in this series, we're going to be exploring various ologies of theology, and I'm excited to be able to walk through some of this with you. So thank you for joining me. Once again, this is Thursday's Theology. My name is Jeff. I'm your host. And remember, theology does not always have to be difficult. It is simply the study of who God is. Take care. We'll see you next week.